Okay, you good? All right, so we're gonna call the meeting to order. It is Monday, November 18th, 6:32 PM. This is a regular meeting of the Montgomery Selectboard. First order of business is to review and make any changes to the agenda. I have 3 additions to the agenda, nothing big, but just stuff that we need to talk about. First is under new business, just the Northern Mountain Valley Unified Union School District. I think that's what it's called. We don't need to make an appointment tonight, but I want to talk about, well, we wouldn't make the appointment anyway, but I want to talk about the next steps there now that Kat resigned. So under new business, the appointment to NMVU USD, is that working at all?
Nope.
It's just frozen?
It's just frozen because it says it's already there. Go ahead, I'm listening.
So we're gonna make, talk about that, added under old business, town hall committee, is a quote, for heat pump installation, I think,
yes.
the area mechanical, and then also under that is just clarifying the AMP electric approval that was done last time. Just need to make sure we clarify for the minutes what source that money's coming from. Any other additions or deletions to the agenda? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes of the November 4th meeting.
Can we do that, because there's only 2 of us?
Oh, you weren't here?
I was not.
Oh, never mind, then we will table that.
It was a very quiet meeting.
Yeah,
Without
nobody
you.
was scared or anything.
Nothing,
Yeah.
everybody talked nice and everything.
All right,
So I didn't
Yeah.
come because I
I
was
read-
scared.
all right.
I ran the meeting.
Then we will table the minutes of the November 4th meeting due to a lack of a quorum for approval. Moving on to Public Works, first up here is the municipal wastewater project. So some general updates there. They anticipate to have that 90% engineering deliverable by December 20th. And that is what will trigger the ability to go out to bid and get construction bids on the project. They're working on that. We're also doing some additional one-on-one landowner conversations with folks just to make sure we understand. I mean, we're getting real nitty-gritty here around like, would you rather have your service line go over here or over there? Because you have a shrub here or something here. And so we're trying to make sure that these things work for everybody one by one, go through. The other thing that we are almost there on is the easement valuations. So we've talked about it in the past, but we worked with a professional appraiser who does utility right-of-way appraisals. So for example, like if the co-op wants to put a utility line in or expand an easement, they get an appraised value for that so that then they can compensate the landowner for that amount. So we worked through that with a gentleman who did come up with the report that established what the kind of per square foot value of this would be. So now all we're doing is going through and doing a parcel by parcel calculation of the value of that easement on each individual property. And so we should have that, I'm hoping, sometime next month. And that will feed into the final easement documentation, which I think we're hoping to get out to folks in January. Those are the updates on the wastewater project. Item B here, the streetscape project, updates there, similar to the wastewater project. The team is continuing to have one-on-one conversations with landowners to get into the details about parcel-specific questions in terms of where do you want your mailbox to be if it can't be here? So again, things that are very nitty-gritty, but trying to make it so that when that goes through, it works for everybody as best it can. The one hiccup with the streetscape project, and you're gonna love this, is that apparently the area between Route 118 and where the power poles are that have the lights is potentially a jurisdictional wetland.
Wait, where?
So the drainage ditch
At the rec.
at the rec center,
Oh.
which is
Yeah.
always wet because it's a
Yes.
drainage ditch.
Yes.
The determination that got made preliminarily was that it is a jurisdictional, it could be a jurisdictional wetland. The way that wetlands work in Vermont is that you have class 1, 2, and 3. Class 1 and 2 are jurisdictional, class 3 are not jurisdictional. Class 3 wetlands, though, if they are big enough or are hydrologically connected to other wetlands, become class 2 wetlands, which makes them, you don't have to write this for the minutes. but-
I'm not writing this for the minutes.
And so that area has a culvert which connects across 118 that eventually gets to the Trout River, and therefore it might be considered a hydrologically connected class 3 wetland, making it jurisdictional. If it is a jurisdictional wetland and we expand the parking into that area, there's a chance that the state would make us pay, having a brain fart,
Mitigation.
mitigation, it's not mitigation though, it's, no. Yes, mitigation is the right word. Basically, what you do is you pay into something so they can then go save a wetland somewhere else. That's the way that wetlands
It's a
work.
carbon credit, wetland credit.
Well, I mean, the way that wetlands rules work in Vermont is avoid, it's like avoid something, mitigate. Either way, it could potentially
It's
add
pretty
quite a
big.
bit of expense to this project.
Oh, for crying out loud.
So they went back
Nice.
out this past week to try to do some additional work to calculate the size of this area, to try to basically put forward documentation that says, no, this is not jurisdictional. Anyway, that's the latest, like, wow, really?
So if it didn't
So-
flow into the Trout River, it wouldn't,
Maybe it doesn't.
Need that.
Maybe the culvert is clogged and. it
If
doesn't.
there was no culvert there, I don't know if they would consider it
Take it out,
hydrologically
Scott.
connected.
it's a false culvert.
Either way.
So what our rec center is in the flood zone?
Shut the culvert down, let the old covered bridge up.
Anyway,
It's a lake.
so that's the update
Beautiful.
on the
Lake
streetscape
Road.
project.
So we get this far in the project and then we
Yeah.
can figure that out.
Don't worry, there's gonna be something else you can be indignant about in a second.
Was that directed toward me specifically?
Well, no, just in
Oh, all
general. So those are the updates on those two projects. Happy to take questions from folks when we get to visitors. If we can just tick through updates on Public Works first, that'd be great. Moving into general updates for Public Works. So the first one here is the Trout
Jeez.
River Longley Bridge Road Bank Stabilization Project.
Again.
We still have to
So-
sign up on that.
So the sign off that was needed is we needed to have
Yeah.
the US Army Corps of Engineers come out and certify that there was 90% survival on the plants that were planted.
Yeah.
We tried to get them out here throughout the growing season, throughout the end of the growing season, into the early part of the fall, and they would not come out and look at it.
That's
Like,
that Amanda.
yeah, Amanda
Yeah.
would not, couldn't make it here. Granted, she's changed jobs, she's now based in Maine.
Yeah, but don't they have they should have
You'd
somebody
think
else.
they had other staff, I
Like
don't
a
know.
picture.
Anyway, they
might
never made it
suffice.
out.
But we sent a bunch of pictures.
So yeah, Bethany took a bunch of
Yeah.
pictures and sent it to the Army Corps and said, hey, here are some pictures. They came back to us and said, this is after an email that I wrote to her boss saying, if we don't have an answer for this from Friday, we're gonna go to our congressional delegation, et cetera, et cetera. She came back with an email, copied, I assume her boss's boss, the people in her department, and basically said, based on the photos we've received, we have made a determination that we cannot essentially sign off on the 90% survivability rate, and we need to wait until the end of the next growing season,
Oh,
which
for
would
crying
be
out loud.
next
So the
September.
contractors don't get their money.
So we do have money, so my main question for them out of all this was, what is the financial liability to the town by delaying? There really isn't one. The contracts were written in a way whereby there was a holdback for the planting work to ensure survivability. Contractor knew that when they signed it, the money's there, it's not going anywhere. So the actual impact to us, other than just having this project that we cannot get off our books and close out, is that they won't get paid for the planting until that's done. Again, it's in the contract, it's the way it is. That being said, we are working with V-Trans to see if we can get V-Trans to essentially sidestep the Army Corps and say, the project is done, you guys are all set, we're signing off, thank you, good night. The Army Corps sign off is part of V-Trans process. So we are working with Nydia at V-Trans to essentially figure out whether or not V-Trans can say, all right, guys,
I think we need to just,
like, we're good. I'm sorry, Merle, what was that?
He can't hear you.
The video and the audio was cutting in and out. Sometimes the screen goes completely black.
Probably his internet.
Okay, we're working with Will here to make sure that works, but thanks for the heads up. We'll keep trying to make sure that works, Merle. So I'm waiting to hear back
I mean,
from.
so they made this determination without even coming out and inspecting it.
Yeah, which to me is
That's not
frankly,
right.
it's not, well, yeah,
Yeah.
and I didn't wanna get
I mean-
into it with him because it was one of those like, I'm gonna have an argument and not win, cause
Yeah,
there's whatever.
yeah,
But, anyway, so Nydia might come back and say, yes, we can close this project out. The one thing with that would be if V-Trans did unilaterally close out the project and say we got to next August and all those plants died, we would not have any money to go out and replant them because that money is essentially tied up in the contract,
Yeah.
which is now, so I don't think that would happen.
I don't see that happening.
But we're waiting to hear back from V-Trans as to whether they can sidestep USACE and
Wow.
close this out. So anyway, that project continues to grind.
Let's go into 6 or 7 years of it.
Yeah, Jesus. So anyway,
Wow.
that brings us to general updates number 2, which is the Reading Road Power Project, the building construction. Any update on that?
Yep, we ordered the building's here. We've got it in the garage, we stained it, insulated it, and did the inside, put the shelving in it. Doug's come down and looked at it. We're actually gonna move it up there tomorrow, so
Great.
it'll be completely done tomorrow, and then it's just on to Doug's. But he's got an update on the communications part of it, which has to do with the water, the solar. They can't connect the power till the solar's disconnected,
Okay,
because solar feeds through.
Yeah, the RF
It'll interrupt.
interference. But the solar's coming down anyways, that was the point
Yeah.
of putting the power up there.
yeah, yeah,
That was a good question for you, but, so, the building's getting set, I'm digging a ditch tomorrow, immediately putting a conduit between the power panel and the building. It's a short distance, I'm just gonna hand dig it. Get the conduit in the ground tomorrow, so if it freezes up anytime in the next
Yeah.
week, or before I get there to pull wire, I don't care. I just wanna get the pipe in the ground while it's nice and warm. And then, I'm gonna get power in there and have it all ready. Burlington Communications is coming December 16th to install the antenna, a brand new antenna system on top of that pole. They're gonna move the other antenna that's there now for transmitting the water stuff. They're gonna move that down below, which
Okay.
is where it should be in case of, so it doesn't interfere. It's not in the way of the communication for the fire department. And they don't affect one another.
No.
But the solar panel, for some reason, Burlington Communications is saying solar panels emit VHF frequency just by nature somehow in their production of power. And they interfere with every single one of their projects. So they want the solar panel gone before they actually install,
okay.
move the radio equipment up there and turn it on. Because this is gonna be a one-day project where they're gonna come in, we're gonna be like on emergency communication status. They're gonna take down our communication system. They're gonna bring it up there, they're gonna bring it back up, connect it to the new antennas, and then turn it back on, test it with St. Albans. And then we'll be changed over all in one fell swoop, because we can't be without comms for a day. So that'll probably take them about 2 to 3 hours to get it all moved and up and running.
Okay.
And
the
then we'll be on
power-
standby with a radio and a phone, saying, you know, if we get an emergency call, we can just do it that way.
Okay.
Yeah,
And the water system power, they can just do a disconnect, reconnect quickly, like to make sure that there's no interruption with power when the solar gets taken off and the hard,
oh, yeah,
that can happen seamlessly.
yeah,
Okay.
I mean, it's just,
That was my question for Mark.
yeah,
So currently the DC system, which is coming from the solar panel to the batteries, charging unit, all that charge controller, the communication of that end of that is not even turned on right now, right? It's not functioning, like the PLC is turned off, I looked in there, the power's off, there's nothing energized except the solar charger and the batteries.
well, yeah, no, the mission system is still calling, the little blue box is still working, I think,
Okay.
because it still tells me the tank level. So that's
Okay.
the only thing, but yeah, the batteries are dead, and, yeah, so that's why we need the power up there, so we can
Right.
get that
So
reconnected. So I'll try to get
I've
somebody
gotta
out there.
communicate with those guys to see what they want,
So-
what I'm gonna do
So we
also-
could just unhook that now, you know. and-
Yeah, I'm not gonna do it until like December 16th, if it's not fixed by then, I'll just unhook it then.
Yeah,
But I think before then, I'm gonna talk to the people that do the RF side of the things, your communication,
Yeah.
that are doing the solar. And tell them I'm putting a 120 volt receptacle in there so they can come in and put a DC power supply.
Yeah.
Or if they want me to put in a DC power supply, I can do that.
Oh,
But
okay.
have them tell me what they want me to do, and I'll just eliminate and set it up so it charges the battery via AC. Or we just put in a battery backup UPS system.
Yeah,
Get rid of those big batteries altogether.
I think that's what the plan is.
And make
Put
sure
the-
that there's heat
Yeah,
in the panel.
just like the other ones,
Correct.
yeah.
So we're gonna make this like as
And
seamless as possible.
Just like the other systems, it'll have the battery backup.
Yeah.
So you need
Yeah,
who's gonna be the guy that you
I think that's Ray Racine.
So if we can get just his contact and.
Yeah, give me his contact information, I'll contact him
Yeah,
and make sure that the power I'm installing in there, I'm just gonna put a 120 volt receptacle, I know that's all he really wants, but if there's something else he needs, like a little heater or something, I need to know there's another circuit or whatever.
yeah,
Whatever he wants, I'd just like to touch base with him to make sure
Okay.
there's no other special needs. Cause I'm gonna connect it's just this far, I'm gonna put the flexible conduit into it, I'm gonna have the 120 volt receptacle installed in there probably this week.
oh, okay,
So it's gonna be ready for him to just
Yeah.
come and do whatever he does inside that cabinet.
yeah,
And then we can just take the solar panel out. So by the end of this week, I could possibly be ready for him to just do whatever.
oh, okay, I'll get a hold of him.
Alright.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
I just,
Yeah.
the solar has to go away.
Yeah,
I mean, we
okay.
want it to go away, I know.
We
that's
want it to
part
go
of the
away
whole-
anyway.
Part of the whole reason we're doing this.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's part of the project, okay,
Great.
yeah, yeah, we can take care of that.
All right, awesome. So that's the regular power project. Next on the agenda is the grader repair. I know that at the last meeting this was discussed, and there was a quote from Kat.
Yep.
Up here,
I have a copy of your big rails.
but any updates on, like, there was some potential alternatives we were looking at?
They
or-
have not, nobody's gotten back to me. I've seen 4 people, nobody's gotten back. At this point, they're recommending the motor either be rebuilt or replaced, Cat is. So I guess we need to decide, I mean, not at this point, but we need to decide whether it's worth fixing upwards of anywhere from 100 to 150,000 to fix it.
What?
In a 20-year-old machine.
Wait, hang on, up to 150, I thought it was for,
That's a quote for new.
oh, sorry, okay,
Yes,
that makes a little more sense.
yeah, no, the quote for fixing it.
Okay.
Is they gave me an exact number, but it's between
Okay.
100, it's around 100,000 for a motor.
Okay.
Either a crate motor or a rebuild, or to rebuild ours. The Cat won't do it, they would send it out.
Okay,
But they had told us a year and a half ago, the transmission rear ends need to be gone through, cause they clunk. And you're talking another 50 to 60 on top of that.
so, when we had spoken, you were pursuing some other kind of potential alternatives, sounds like we haven't had any kind of new updates
I
on
have
those.
Two quotes at this point, and one is buying and one is leasing. And the other quote for coming in to give us a second, he's too busy to come, he told me, so.
Like, it's off the table, or like,
He's
we
not
have,
coming, he can't come.
he can't.
Well, the
come.
quote is from Cat, and
Yeah.
we tried to get a hold of John Deere and.
And I got a hold of, St. Albans just gave me another person that works on their Cat equipment, and he can't get here either.
Like,
Yeah.
can't,
Physically get here to do it, they're too busy
yeah,
to come
okay.
look at it.
So like, it's not something where it's like, hey, if we just wait a little bit,
Yeah.
it's like, that's
One
not
guy
an
told me-
option?
One guy told me 6 to 8 weeks, and the other guy didn't give me a timeline at all.
Because how long, if we went with a rebuild, how long would that take?
They said if anywhere possibly 3 months, around 3 months.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Because I mean, the reason I ask is I'm trying to figure out, like,
Well, if we have a
we're coming
winter-
into the season where we don't need the grader.
we had
So,
a winter like last winter, we used it all winter.
we started using it in
Right.
We
January.
put 120 hours on it
Yeah.
in February.
Chris got a question.
yeah, I see your hand. Yeah, I was just trying to
Yeah.
figure out, like, essentially, how much time do we have to, like, look at other alternatives?
Absolutely.
Well,
Was
yeah,
where I was
not
trying to
too
go
much
with that,
time.
is like, at what point is it like we have to
Yep,
make a
Thanks,
decision?
absolutely.
Oh, I thought you were, I was like,
No.
it's empty. Anyway, sorry, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, what's that, what exactly is wrong with it?
It has no oil pressure, and they took an oil sample, and the oil sample came back, it's got,
What are the crank bearings bad?
no, there's, what it is it's got no oil pressure, and it's not the oil pump. When they took the oil sample, it came back as 5 iron levels, and that were high, that indicate that it wear in the motor, and they said there is antifreeze in the motor, so they think the head's cracked.
Is this a John Deere or a Caterpillar?
Cat,
Did you talk to Rick LaHoyer?
no, we just dealt with Cat, they're the only ones that
Well,
were
Rick does that, he rebuilds engines, he has a
Yeah.
truck, he comes and does it, a lot of different towns.
so.
Is Rick like a cat
Could you-
employee? Is he
No,
he's just
his own,
a person?
yeah, he goes around and, he was up in town of Fletcher a few years ago when I was up there, rebuilding one of their
Do
machines.
you have his number, or can you get us his
Yeah.
number?
I might be able to get it.
Yeah,
Okay,
that'd be
yeah, I can
great.
get it. Yeah.
We're trying to get Dana
That's-
Stetson.
Yeah, Johnson.
Frank-
Dana won't come do it?
He's busy, he's working the rights, and his computer, you have to hook everything, has to be hooked up to a laptop.
He's redoing a skidder right now,
I
so he knows
rebuild my
what
own
he's.
engines, but,
Yeah.
that's why it seems
Well-
awful high for 120,000 to get an engine rebuilt.
It's, everything has to go through a laptop on that. They come, when Cat comes, they hook a laptop right up to it, it plugs right in. They said one possibility, well, with the oil sample that came back, the wear items, they said it's getting close to, it's got 8,500, which isn't that many hours. But possibly the pickup tube that pulls the oil to the oil pump could partially be plugged. You have to pull the motor to get the tube out.
You gotta pull it out or to do anything.
Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
that Cat, with the way the motor and the transmission are, the motor and transmission both have to come out. They have to come together.
So it could be something where they pull out the motor and transmission and realize it's just a clogged.
No, with the oil results, they said
Oh.
there's too much wear in the motor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's.
But that's not like the antifreeze in the
No,
engine thing is
no,
gonna.
you're
Okay.
hoping, you know,
It
but
still don't cost $120,000 to rebuild a motor.
it's burning a fair amount.
But the other issue is too, is the transmission,
Oh,
it's got
The
problems
transmission's
too, so.
Between 40 and 60,000. and
So if you're gonna spend a bunch of money on the motor, then your transmission goes, you know, I mean,
That's just where we're
Yeah.
at right now.
Well,
There's
I mean,
antifreeze
Cat
in the
will
oil
rebuild it.
sample.
They'll
Yes.
send it out to,
Yeah.
they said Milford Max.
I mean, yeah, Chris, if you've got that guy's information, if you can shoot it to Mark or me and we can try to, I mean, at this point, like, unless anybody's anxious to make any decisions tonight, I mean, my take would be, let's
Keep looking.
keep looking. To see,
Trying to get Dana's computer, his laptop needs to be updated.
Yeah.
And, he's just crazy busy right now with rights. So,
Yeah.
and St. Ange's guy, he told me his name. It's from over the mountain somewhere. He worked for Cat for years, and that's who they get to work on a lot of their stuff.
Yeah.
And he's on his own, and he hasn't contacted back. And as far as I know, he said 6 to 8 weeks already, so.
okay,
but I would like to
That's
just get a quote like on what that one's worth. You know, if you can get a quote and then look it up, and then
Yeah,
go
I have
towards
no
it.
idea what's wrong, so it's gonna be hard to get quote.
Yeah.
Exactly what's
Yeah.
wrong.
But, I mean, if we look at trading it, then they're gonna have to give
Yeah,
us
the
a quote.
oil sample came back as, let's see. Copper, lead, sodium, and potassium levels are extremely high, and it's antifreeze in the motor. Those 4 things apparently indicate,
The crack.
possible engine failure.
Yeah.
okay. Well, as far as
Monday.
tonight goes,
Good news.
I think I appreciate the update. We'll keep looking, keep trying. Appreciate,
Enosburg's right now, but it's gotta go back.
yep,
Yeah,
yeah, well, appreciate you continuing to look at alternatives around this.
I'll call Dana again and see what he says, and see if I can, say he's waiting for his IT guy to update his laptop or something.
Okay. How much, like, fall grading is left?
4 or 5 days, hopefully, there's weather coming this weekend, we went out all day today, tomorrow, Wednesday for sure.
Okay.
Thursday's rain and snow all weekend, so
Okay,
we'll have to see what's left, we're pushing hard now, so might work a little overtime just to try to get
yeah.
a little dark and.
okay. All right.
Yeah.
Other general updates on Public Works?
Cemetery.
Yeah, did you have a chance to look at that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually have.
Did you see what I mean? Like, even the
Oh,
other day I drove
wow.
by and there
We
was
found
like
out what's wrong.
We
water.
found out what the
What's-
problem is.
We found out, there's actually a small, very, very, very small like 6-inch culvert that goes across that road itself.
Yeah,
And when they cleaned it out last time, they actually buried it, whoever cleaned it out, on both sides, and it's broke. So we have another culvert, we went and got it today, and we got the guy coming to do their excavating, coming tomorrow with a small, like, mini excavator. We're
okay,
gonna change it, do a little bit of ditch, and there's actually an old water line in there.
St.
The
Ange's.
old St. Ange water system
oh.
that's
Yeah.
not turned off.
Oh,
That's
so it's
where
not
it
a
is.
spring, it's an actual water
It's
line.
an
Yeah.
actual water line.
Is there, do we know how to turn that off?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
We went over St. Ange's, and they have, we found the shut-offs, and we're gonna actually dig the line up, it's right above where we're digging tomorrow, we're
Huh.
gonna dig it up and cap it.
Yeah, I mean, they can cap it.
So that's from the original water
So the
system?
original.
Yeah,
back to
With the
Yeah.
well at the rec center?
No, 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 no,
No.
no. From St. Ange's system that was up by the dump. Was,
Oh, that from that well?
Yeah, because
Oh.
originally St. Ange's had the whole
It's either a
village.
Yeah.
line coming down,
Yeah.
or it was a line going to the cemetery to feed water in the summertime.
Wow.
Yeah.
We gonna backbill them? I'm just kidding.
No, it's, so that'll be capped tomorrow, and we'll fix the ditch and the culvert, so the water doesn't go down the bottom.
All right, appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
Yeah,
Alright,
so that's where it's coming
Tomorrow
from.
morning, so 8 o'clock.
All
People
right.
thought it was our water system, but I said it isn't, because our water line's way down below.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and we would've noticed something like that.
yeah, I would've noticed. My usage is not, hasn't been
Yeah.
not that much.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Is there anything else for Public Works anybody's got?
No.
If not, let's go to visitors. I know we've got town hall committee stuff on the agenda, and we've got the Evergreen Foundation proposal on the agenda, but other stuff that's not an agenda item.
Why did our taxes go up right after election? I'd like to know.
Actually,
My mortgage payment just went up $150 a month. Cause we have the escrow, and they called the bank, they said it's because of the taxes, my property tax. How did my
They-
property tax go up so much?
Did vote for Democrats?
it did?
I don't vote for Democrats.
So when the mortgage company escrows the taxes in,
Yeah.
they average high, and so you may end up getting money back at the end of the year because they like overestimate for what they assume the tax rate is going to be because
In FY '26.
it's FY26 that you're paying toward, because everybody who probably I guess I don't have that information, but other people that I've talked to that also have their property taxes escrowed into their mortgage have also seen $150 increase in their monthly payment. When they've done that in the past, I know that oftentimes at like the end of their fiscal year,
We already got that.
right, and so but it's for next year. It's for next year.
They can only keep a certain percentage above what you owe.
Right.
Yeah, I know that.
In a year, so you'll get that back. And they're anticipating with the election that your taxes are gonna go up. So there you go.
Because they voted for it in Montpelier. They raised everybody's taxes.
No?
Yeah, I mean,
Yes, they did.
we'll be, I mean, as we get through budget season and towards town meeting, obviously, we'll be establishing the budget and setting the projected tax rate. So as far as like the work on this end, that's when all that'll happen, but it
Yeah.
sounds like it's just,
It's anticipatory, unfortunately, and it does not like.
But I'm on a budget now,
yeah.
and then with this stupid wastewater, I'm sorry, I'm still against it, and I'm gonna fight you till the end.
I know you will.
I am gonna fight you. I am tired of that. It's gonna cost much more money than you guys are even saying it's gonna cost, and that's my budget. I'm going to the food shelf now, even though, so I'm glad she's here. And I'm, you know,
You're welcome.
I'm glad she does it. I
Yeah.
really appreciate her. But I mean, you guys, all this taxes stuff, and there's people out there that don't want it. You guys ain't listening to the people, just like with the election, the people need to talk. And if I have to get 50 of them to 100 in this room to tell you, I will. Because you guys blown it all way out. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
And that's my opinion, and I know there's more people out there. And I've been quiet the last couple times I've been here. I could go off a little more, but I'm not. I'm gonna be nicer now. You
Yeah.
know, but I'm fighting you. I'm gonna.
yeah,
I'll say it's gonna be a good thing, but when this development comes in, good thing we got Trump back in, because now the immigrants ain't gonna come here. That was my biggest worry,
Cheese and Teresa.
that they would send,
Okay,
no,
Yeah,
when they
Yeah.
sent
just,
immigrants everywhere
Yeah.
else, they'd send them here, that was my
Sure.
biggest worry.
Yeah, so let's two
Yeah,
things. One is like, I think,
No,
like the philosophical part of it, like, I hear you and like, I understand that and let's put that to a side for now. As far as the cost of stuff goes, like we said before, like, we're gonna get this 90% engineering plans
Yeah.
done enough to go to bid. We're gonna go to bid, we're gonna get the bids back. And that's when we're gonna have like the actual, like to your point, like the estimates we've been working from have been updated periodically, but they're just estimates. And so when those bids come back, that's when that like come to God moment happens where we say, were we right? Were we drastically wrong? What do we do
well,
next?
you
And
already got
so
the village out,
that's the point at which we'll have that conversation about affordability that we talked about before. So for now, I'd say like that's kind of the next, you know, we get that information and then we make the decisions. So
just gotta let the process run through.
once that comes
But
around,
I'll
It's far along.
that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. I'm just saying
Yeah.
like I mean, I hear you. I'm just saying let's wait
I'm
and
not
see what those
ignorant,
numbers
like
come
somebody
back
said
as.
That we are ignorant, I'm not ignorant, I've been learning more about this stuff.
Yep.
I lay awake at night thinking about this crap.
Yep.
That's bad. But anyway,
Okay. Yeah. So
I said my piece.
yep. All right, well, if there's nothing else under visitors, the next item is the town hall committee. And so, there's a couple moving parts here. One question would be, I guess, what's the current status of the committee as far as membership goes?
okay, so at our last meeting, we have 4 people interested. We were going to recommend, and then I had to withdraw that motion, as per our minutes. We have decided that we will invite all 4 of them to our next meeting to get a sense of where, you know, so we've got Nicole, Marty, Rob Jr., of the Barnard clan, and Claudia Stauber. So we felt it would only be fair if all 4 came to our meeting and it's, you know. And currently there's 5 of us, so we have, you know, an odd number and can vote and not get into any.
So who's currently on the committee?
It's myself, Tara, Brad, Shane Mercy, and me? Brad, Abe.
Yeah.
Okay, and
So we are hoping
Tiffany and
Joanne
Joanne
resigned.
resigned. Okay, so you had 6 people initially.
7.
You had 7 people
We
initially.
started with 7, the charter says 7.
Who,
We also discussed just leaving it 5 members. Can we change the charter? Is that easier to do?
I think the charter probably says up to a certain
Up
to.
number, but.
So that was our other thought, was that because it seems like this group of 5, we're all pretty much in sync and having really good meetings. And we might, if we can just operate with 5, we'd almost prefer it. 7 seems to be unwieldy, and it's almost like with 7, 3 people will say, oh, well, I don't need to be there, there's so many of us.
Okay,
So we're kind of running into that, like, oh, there's so many of us with the 7 that people were getting lost in shuffles, and right now the unit of 5 seems to be working well.
Yeah.
And we have, you know, we've shown up at every meeting since we turned to 5, so that's been helpful. So if we don't have to increase
Okay.
right now, we'd kind of maybe like to go the full year with just the
Thanks,
5
Scott.
of us.
Yeah.
okay,
But
Yeah.
still talk to these other folks to see, you know, because some of them are saying, oh, well, you know, so it's kind of like 4 people that wanna help, but we're really looking to either keep ourselves intact as a tight group and get these things done that we started, and then maybe bring somebody on in a year.
okay,
Or use these people as, because they all say, well, I'll help out from time to time.
okay.
And that's not kind of what we're looking for. We already, you know, we had that before.
All right, so
Can you answer the charter question now? Is it on somebody's computer?
so it's, my personal computer is still not with us. I have that information on the cloud. I'd have to go pull it down, so we can get it, but not quickly. So I will check that and let you know.
What?
The charter question.
Oh,
About 5.
I would say,
yeah, but it says up
Yeah.
to 7.
I think it says up to
Yeah.
7, but I have to go back and check.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
So, okay, so then to that end, my guess is that there's been no movement towards like a revised building use policy that would cover the basement?
We're not dealing with anything with the basement until the plumbing work is done and that kitchen is inspected and the floor is painted. The floor is chipped paint, so we have people coming in for the food shelf. But to actually rent it and take somebody's money when it's in that kind of condition, like people come in now at their own risk. Like if you wanna let your baby crawl on that floor in the condition it's in,
Okay,
we ask you not to.
so no changes to the building use
No
policy
change
until improvements are made?
Until we have the plumbing that needs to be done. I have the inspection report in front of me. It's probably, we have one plumber coming next week to do an estimate. So we're actively seeking estimates. We'll get 2 or 3
Okay.
on the plumbing work. The latest thing that needs to be approved is the heat pump installation, which came in a lot higher than I wanted.
Yep.
We removed the fancy covers for $1,100. I think you can buy those. I mean, we can get pool noodles if, you know, that's interior, and most of that line work is gonna be in the utility room, so it's just, I'm like, no, that's
Okay.
crazy.
Yeah.
I am, applying for a Vermont Electric Company grant to cover this, so, or even part of the electric, so that's a fluid thing.
Is
I have
it
one,
a
I
bit-
just needed to send them this estimate.
Okay,
So that grant program from Velco, from Vermont, the co-op, they're pretty good. It sounds like we might cover the cost of this, but even if
Great.
we
Did I
don't,
send that to you?
Hmm.
Is that what I sent to you?
I think you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a simple process.
They
And
have money that they want to put
They want-
into
yeah,
those
so-
efficiency projects, and
Yeah.
they're looking for
So I feel
nonprofits.
like
Yeah.
we have a really
Yeah.
good chance of having the electric and the installation covered with the grant, and it can be after the fact, after you spent the money, but I needed that second estimate to send to them for the
so,
ARE mechanical, which I would love to get approved tonight, so Mike is scheduled to come in, with Ally and Amp Electric on Thursday. And Rob is actually Mike's brother, so they work together quite a bit, so hopefully these heat pumps will be in before we hit deep freeze, so next
Okay.
couple weeks.
so what you handed me is this client service agreement for the
That
electric
is
panel.
just, that's the Amp Electric estimate that you already
That
approved,
we approved last week.
For the
but
electric.
that's the
yeah, or-
actual signed contract, which I didn't
2 weeks ago.
have. It's just an electronic signature, and that's for the Amp Electric, it goes with the
That-
estimate that's already been approved.
That was to work on the,
Yeah,
That's, you're doing the
Circuit
panel
breaker.
box
Panel
and,
box.
and it's the heat pump electricity,
Yeah.
it's both.
yeah,
So, you know, his estimate, I think, was really good for that
part-
amount of work.
then
Okay.
part of our, we just had to say where the money was coming out of.
And that
Yeah.
would come, out of the town hall funds right now, because the grant I'm applying for would go into the town
Cause
hall.
what was that, 1,400?
that was 1470.
1470.
So
And
there,
then this new one, if
Yeah.
you take out that line set, and I contacted him
okay,
today.
let's just,
Yeah.
Sorry,
let's just do one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Okay, so, just to be clear, building use policy, status quo until we can get more updates on that, so no changes there to the basement.
no,
Okay, the Amp Electric quote for the panel and that associated work, which the board approved last time in the amount of 1470. We do need to establish where that'll be drawn from. So all we would need is just a motion to ratify the decision and clarify the source of the funds, which would be the town hall fund.
So I'll make a motion, to, the funds to come out of the town hall fund for Amp Electric, about 1470,
Okay,
to upgrade the panel.
great. So we've got a motion from Mark to take the 1470 that was approved last time for Amp Electric out of the town hall fund. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thanks, second from Leanne. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, motion carries. So that's clarified, that'll come out of the town hall fund. Now we have the quote from ARE Mechanical, and this is associated with the heat pump installation work. So, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you before, I just wanted to make sure.
Oh, no, yeah,
Kinda-
that's fine.
Okay, so
And my contact with him, I've questioned his hours. So this is an estimate, I'm waiting to get an email back. But if we take away the lines that covers, we're looking at $3,119 to cover the estimate.
to install the heat pump.
Completely done, outside, inside.
Okay.
It's one company that's gonna set the thing outside and do it all.
Okay.
Yes, and the other benefit of having these guys install this is that their work is warranted. If anything goes wrong, Rob will come and fix it. If we had Colin do it for free, that would not be the case
Okay,
necessarily.
so I was gonna ask,
Colin
when we
fell through-
first talked about this, I thought that the 5,500 that was donated would cover all the, well, when we talked about
Yeah.
it, that
It
was
covers the
supposedly gonna,
equipment.
and I thought the installation and stuff was gonna
Yeah.
be done
It was supposed,
comped.
yes, it was gonna be comped, and now
Yeah.
it's not. And that's all I can tell you. I cannot make him
No,
come
oh,
and
no,
do
no,
it.
I'm not saying that
No,
you
no.
can
It-
or
that-
you should, I was just saying like,
that fell
I'm not
through.
crazy that was what was.
I'm not crazy about it either, but I find myself in a situation where I don't have a choice. And I also find myself in a situation where I have been the sole fundraiser
Yeah, and
of
I'm,
all of this money.
yeah,
And I need to get this done so that we can have a clear and safe basement environment that does not mold and turn into a swampy armpit.
can,
So I am making a commitment to get this money either through a grant or I will fundraise it. And that's all I can promise you. I mean, currently,
could the VEC grant we just talked about also
It
go
could-
towards any of this?
yeah,
That's
Yeah,
what she's
that's
saying.
what I
That's what
just
she's
said.
saying.
She's so
Yeah.
I think essentially
Oh.
what Tosca's saying is
I'm sorry, I
If we
thought the
put this
VEC
out-
grant was gonna offset Amp Electric's work.
No, I'm
no.
putting it
The whole
all in
thing.
there.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry,
I'm
I,
going for as much
Yeah.
money, I'll put the plumbing in there if
no,
I
no, no,
can.
I think that's great, I
Yeah,
just,
yeah,
sorry,
no.
I misunderstood and thought that the
No,
VEC
no,
grant was
no.
gonna cover Amp
No,
Electric's
I
work.
was waiting for the AR
Gotcha.
mechanical estimate to finish that grant.
Gotcha.
So, no, Charlie, it is my intention for this not to cost anybody
Yeah.
anything. The other funding source we have to pay for some of this, if they don't grant it out, is Heartful Kitchen will put in $1,000 or $1,500 to offset the cost of this. And I am, like I said, I worked back and forth with Colin for a few months, and it's kind of both of it's scheduling and his workload.
Yep.
And when I said, I'm gonna have to hire somebody to do this, I said, I can pay you, like, at this point, if that's what the
Yeah.
situation is, and I just didn't feel like I wanted to create a situation.
Yeah, no, that's okay, and
So,
I mean, we
this
should,
will
we
get
should,
covered.
yeah, we should never expect anything for free, I just wanted to make sure
Well,
that.
I was very happy, but then when, it was pointed out, like, somebody does the work for free, there's really no guarantee that, what if that work sucks?
Yep.
Like, what can we do about that?
Yeah.
And I trust Rob Papalardo with every appliance he's ever fixed for me. I've been doing business with him for over 30 years, so Leanne can tell you, I'm sure you
He
use
did
him.
all of our work out of the shoe.
Yep.
I mean, he's got a great reputation for this work, so I feel like we're in good hands, but I will make sure that this gets covered. Like, we have till July to make sure our budget is ahead of, and it will be. We're on good track. I don't know if you've seen the But so far, we've fundraised more than our budget, so
Yeah, no, I mean, you brought in
we're still bringing it in.
5,000, well, plus,
So far, we've brought in
according to the,
9,300 plus another.
yeah, the late October fundraising, it was at 9,300, so whatever you brought in on top of that.
And again, the Heartful Kitchen Fund is pretty beefy as well because we've gotten a lot of donations. So if push comes to shove, we'll pay for it. You know, because it is sort of has this symbiotic relationship at this point.
Were you gonna look for any other estimates besides
For
ARE?
ARE,
Or is there
I
a,
wasn't planning on it because I can't. He's the best
Yeah.
and the most recommended at this point.
Okay.
You can get
And
it
it's
done.
also the timing.
Yeah.
He can do it. Who did I ask to? Mercy. No, can't do it.
No.
Like, so I
Yeah.
did offer John and
Okay.
he was not interested,
Okay.
too busy.
Yeah.
I just really wanna get it done before we get into frozen
Yeah.
territory, so.
Oh, you said it wasn't gonna snow.
Well, it might in January, so I'd like to get it done before January. It's not gonna snow until January.
No, it's gonna snow
Really?
this week.
Okay.
It'll snow. Anyway, that's where we are with that. and-
okay, cause this, I mean, cause this will take about 25% of the remaining budget from the town hall. And
Both things.
like so there's about $11,000, 11.5, according to the last one we've got, so that, I'll say 11,000.
Right now, I'm showing. Yeah.
I had 11,
Total expenditure, I've got 12,080, but
okay, this was, October 16th is the last readout I've got, which was 11,472. In either case, my
Yeah.
like, it's, we gotta have the money back by July, but we also have to have the money back in time to use it to pay the expenses that we need before July, so.
but, like I said, I will chuck money from the Heartful Kitchen Fund into it if I have to. Right now, I'm banking on the Vermont
Yeah.
electric grant.
When what's the timeline on that as far as
I
like,
don't know, I have to go look at it again. It didn't seem like it was, they seem pretty
Probably
quick.
I think it's rolling. I think it's
Yeah,
like
it's
a rolling grant.
fund,
and the awards are rolling as well, like it's,
it was literally a one-page application.
Oh, wow.
It's a fairly simple program. I'm gonna send him this and see what happens, you know, but we have another town dinner coming up and, you know,
okay.
so, I don't know.
I mean, you guys have, your fundraising chops are evident. So like, yeah,
Well, the thing is,
definitely.
you've got the heat pump, so now we just gotta get it installed, so.
Yeah, I mean, we could
So-
call the
that's-
whole thing off and just run with the
that-
meters and I could sell the units.
I mean, that's gonna probably save on our heating oil too, or heating.
Well, you're not
or
gonna
the-
use
the
heating oil.
propane and stuff.
The issue, again, we could turn that heater on, but you have to cut 12 or 14 vents in all of the ceiling
Oh, yeah.
tiles, because that was never done.
Yeah, no, I know,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah,
And you will never cease the moisture problem
No.
if you're just running a heater. Like
Yeah.
we can run the heat 24/7 all year round, and it'll keep it drier down there, but you're gonna pay a fortune.
oh, yeah,
And the eventual long-term goal is to maybe hook that up to a solar panel and, you know, eventually, you know, whatever,
Okay.
5 or 6 years from now.
yeah.
But we're trying, we have Skippy from the rec center, who's gonna work on a big grant for us. Maybe pay for the railings and painting and, you know, the interior needs a paint job, it's really shoddy.
okay,
Um,
alright, so
but in the meantime, you know,
yeah,
Okay.
I put my hand out shamelessly and people give me money for
Yeah.
this stuff.
yeah, no, I mean, like I said, your track record of fundraising is
Yeah.
definitely something not to be ignored.
Yeah, and we're doing some higher end dinners coming up for the effort, and we also have the Sunday farmers markets that are
Yeah,
paying right into town hall funds, so.
Okay.
We got a lot of things coming up,
So,
so we're gonna throw some money at
I'll
it.
make a motion for ARE Mechanical heat pump installation work. Estimate of $3,119 to come out of the town hall fund to install the heat pumps.
All right, we've got a motion from Mark to approve the expenditure as listed to come out of the town hall fund. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Leanne. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? All right, motion carries.
Alright, you guys are awesome.
The next item on here, pivoting from town hall committee to the Full Heart Kitchen. This was, I think this was tabled last time, so there was no discussion on this.
Full heart or is it heartful?
Heartful,
Heartful
two
Kitchen.
separate words.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Okay.
Heartful. So the board
Thank
had
you.
reviewed the draft lease. I think we had a bunch of comments, and some questions. We had some feedback from the municipal attorney on a few
Oh,
points.
cool, awesome.
So I think, what I'd like to do now is chat about a few questions, and then what I was hoping was to potentially take questions and takeaways and come back with what could potentially be a maybe final lease agreement, for our next meeting. So I wanna just open up discussion on the lease agreement to cover some of the big questions. One was, what's the status of Heartful Kitchens, like legally as of now?
So legally, as of now, it is a 501c3. We are waiting on, which I just paid, we are 501c3 unincorporated association. With that designation, we still have to get the letter that says we are a nonprofit that basically gives us access to the Vermont Food Bank. That was paid for, it's $275, it's been paid for 2 weeks ago, and now I'm just waiting for the IRS to send me that. But we are officially an organization, we have a separate checking account. It is Tiffany and myself that are the principals. We have an insurance policy that we're ready to purchase, but we wanted to wait for the lease because it's a question of
Yep.
having the actual lease so that our insurance agent can look at the lease and be added as whatever they're called.
Understood,
They
yeah.
would wanna be on
Yep.
the lease. So that would be for $1 million of liability, which would
Yep.
protect you guys from any slip and fall, or, it protects us for food that maybe somebody gets sick from,
Yep.
you know. So it covers both parties. In terms of the committee, we've talked it, so currently, the use of the building, free and open to the public. If we take those guidelines, is free to use. So we're there 4 hours a week, plus another maybe 5. So we're looking at, we'll say 10 hours a week of, that's seems to be what it's taking us to handle the
Yeah.
food shelf business. And that's just, you know, making sure things are rotated, making sure the product's dusted off and nothing, and preparing food. Leftovers from the art auction were packaged into meals, things like that.
Okay.
So
So, 'cause that,
it's like 10 hours a week, so 40 hours a month
and
is
so,
what our usage would be.
okay, because that was a question, was how exactly what is the, and so open hours, excluding
Tuesdays, 3 to 6.
emergencies, but like Tuesdays, 3 to 6?
Tuesdays, 3 to 6, so we're literally open, actually, sorry Charlie, for the winter hours are gonna be Tuesdays 2 to 5. And we're gonna, because it gets dark, and then we'll open it, we'll switch it, so, anyway,
Okay.
3 hours every Tuesday.
Okay,
And you
And-
think it'll be Tuesdays like 3 to 6 for the spring?
Yeah, so 2 to 5 for winter, 3 to 6, and that is essentially not gonna change.
okay,
We don't wanna open up, for more than that. I have been there on Saturdays and Sundays for the last little bit and opened here and there to get rid of the hurricane clothing.
Yep.
Which really has nothing to do with Hartful, we're just getting it
Move
to
things
where,
out.
yeah,
Yep.
so, the next project is to start the basement floor once the heat pumps are in and get that done, and then we'll look at what needs to be done for plumbing. But anyway, questions on the lease, so, yeah, about 40 hours a month
Okay, great.
is usage.
You talked about liability coverage, which is great. A few things that, just right off the bat, make sure that you're okay with it. I think we'd strike any of the language around a right of first refusal.
Yeah,
Um,
please, like I said, this is
yeah.
cookie cutter
Yeah.
thing that I got off the
Yep.
internet, I just
Um,
wanted to start somewhere.
Same with like arbitration, some of that
Oh,
stuff.
come on.
Mediation is fine, but not arbitration.
Got it.
Talked about legal status, we talked about, the hours. I think we wanna revisit the language around leasehold improvements, just to make sure that it's clear in terms of items versus fixed improvements.
Fixed improvements stay with the building.
Exactly, and so,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah, so we just wanna tighten up that section.
The
uh,
only two items that exist in the basement currently are not fixed, and that's the freezer, which would go back to the Methodist church.
Yep.
If we ever shut down or became insolvent, and there's a Coke fridge down there, that we're looking to buy a new one that's more efficient, but that would
Yep.
not be a town expense, that would be a Hartful kitchen expense. The other stuff that's down there is personal equipment that belongs to myself and Tiffany, that we have pretty well labeled, but there's a lot of things we got from the rummage sale that'll stay, you know, and we're not planning on going anywhere, so. But I'm taking my chafing dishes with me, not the ones we bought for the, but the pans and the platters, and there's knives, and it's random kitchen equipment that's been lent to put on all this food stuff.
Yep.
And quite a bit of it would stay because we didn't want to in our houses. So the really, and then the only other things that'll be improved, the plumbing stuff.
Yep.
That
Yeah.
of course will all stay. The heat pumps, they're installed, that will, I mean, yeah, there's nothing going anywhere.
Yeah, because I think the differentiation we want to make sure is use versus a function of building maintenance and improvements and the relationship with the town hall committee's
Right.
responsibilities, and then the budget. There is like a potential liability in that if we signed a lease with Hartful Kitchens to use that space and then something happened and the town hall committee imploded and all of a sudden like the use of the building totally changed and like nothing was happening in there except for the food shelf, that we'd still have to pay to keep the building open enough to keep
Right.
Full Hearth Kitchen open. So that was the only other kind of thing that kind of was a flag that was raised, was like, okay, if you have a lease agreement, you're basically saying that you will provide a space
Right.
to meet that come
And
hell or
we'd
high
have to-
water.
Yeah, and we would, because of the importance of the work we're doing,
Yeah,
we'd make sure it got funded.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
so
just segue,
that's the one other section of the lease that I just
the
flagged
town hall
as being.
committee isn't going to implode.
Oh,
It
yeah,
might change.
this was one of those like,
Yeah,
everything that comes across is like,
Right.
what's the worst case scenario?
yeah,
and
no,
how do
I
we prepare for
understand.
it?
The
So-
worst case scenario is that, I don't know, I mean, people stop coming to town dinners and eating great food and supporting the
Yeah.
effort. So I mean, the support, just last week on Tuesday, just for everybody's information, we had 14 people come, feeding a total of 47 in their families.
Wow.
Which, that's their children, that's when we asked them how many people in your household. We gave out about, I don't know, 48 or 9 pieces of clothing, shoes, hats, mittens, scarves. There is a need. a lot of these folks were Montgomery residents. There was probably 3 from Berkshire, 1 from Belvedere.
Mhm.
So just our little circle, and we're doing Thanksgiving boxes next week, and we already have 16.
Yep.
And that is feeding a total of almost 100 people. So, you know, I've gotten some pushback from folks that say, well, we don't need this. People can drive to Enosburg. Yeah.
No.
People can go to Jay. Well, they can't go to Jay because Jay only serves the 4 towns they serve. So, yeah, it's needed. It's a lot of work. But the more we put it out there that we're here and we have things available, the more people are showing up.
Yep.
And when you see a mom that has 7 kids in this environment, you give them whatever you got.
Yep.
So anyway,
So I think those were kind of the main points that
Okay.
have been raised in my notes here. Board members, any other questions regarding the lease or clarifications?
I think it's fair to say that you could put something in the lease. I would personally like to pay a nominal rent that covers some utilities. And Tiff and I talked about it, and if you took the building use policy and said, we charge nonprofits $25 for half a day, and you just did that math, I think $100 a month, which would be $1,200 a year, is fair for us to pay, and that at least gives us, you know, the portion of the electric bill that might spike because of the heat pumps.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, I think that we'd feel better if we paid something, and you can call it rent or cover utilities or a portion of whatever, but it's an expense for us, and we have the support
Okay.
so far to cover that, and I'd like to just be able to say, here's $1,200 that's going right for that, you know.
Well, that would help us at budget time, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think
One
it's,
sec.
I think it's important for folks to know that we're serious.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
if you make it free,
There's less skin in the game.
Yeah.
yeah, and I
Okay.
just, you know, we're willing to we've put our skin in this game, and
Yep.
we're working our butts off to make it happen, so.
Okay.
Anyway, I would like you to go ahead and put that in.
Okay.
And
We'll
can
work-
I
we'll
assume
work
that
that.
you guys can draw this lease up?
Yeah.
Or you're, okay.
I will take the framework and the
Oh,
notes
thank you,
and everything.
because
I will redraft this and get it back out to you.
My brain hurts
Yeah, no,
when
it's
I
fine.
think about
I
this.
can
And
take
once
care-
I get the lease, we'll go get
Yeah.
the insurance policy, and I will make copies of all of our business documents,
Yep.
all of our IRS stuff, so you know we're legit, and you can have that with everything else. So
Yep.
if anybody asks
Yeah.
you, it's not Tosca and Tiffany's kitchen that
Yep.
we're just like here.
Yeah,
So anyway, I
Okay.
appreciate it.
gotcha. Did you have a
Is
question?
there gonna be a conflict between the committee and the hall with them?
So, so,
Like using the space, you know what I mean? Or are they gonna complain that,
oh, you mean like a use conflict?
yes, yes.
So far, we have all agreed, the town hall committee. Now, I will abstain from votes concerning Heartful Kitchen as a committee member. So that, we've totally hammered out the conflict issue. Tara shouldn't be signing contracts with Brad because she's part of Montgomery Smiles. Tosca doesn't get to sign contracts with Heartful because, you know, so we're all on board with that. And now that we have looked at the situation and how things are laid out, everybody's fine with how it's laid out right now and our use of space. We're trying to swap out some cabinets for actual standing locked cabinets. That's gonna take a minute. But right now, in its current form, everybody's happy. Once that kitchen becomes rentable, because the plumbing's done and the floor is done, the plan is to have the food shelf items in really secure storage cabinets that are locked, and then the freezer and the hopefully new refrigerator with a lock on it.
Mhm.
So we're still working on that, but so far everybody's been fabulous. We're all back on the same sort of
Good.
happy path that we're all using this space. And Abe's got skin in the game now because he's got hurricane relief clothing that has now been reset up, so now everybody's got skin in the game. It's like now we all gotta deal with everything
Yeah.
down here. So I think we're all good.
All good.
You know.
Great, so we will get a revised lease draft
Excellent.
and out for review and revisions, and then we will bring it back up at the next meeting.
Okay, so.
Anything else on regarding the town hall anybody's got? All right, if not, the next item on our agenda is the Evergreen Foundation proposal.
No, you got the town office public safety building.
Oh, I'm sorry, quick update on this. So, we did get a MERP, Municipal Energy Something Program award for $297,000 and change. There's no match requirement to this grant, which is pretty awesome.
Wow.
So that's going to fund work on this building. We're still a ways from having that whole funding stack at a point where we're ready to like pull the trigger on anything. But just as a point of information, Liz, Aaron, and Genevieve did notify the board that they had received the MERP grant in the amount of $297,000 and change.
Can I just ask a quick question? This could be total rumor, but are you seriously gonna cut off the library from the rest of this building and put portalets outside for library patrons? Because that's what's going around.
No.
Okay,
No.
oh,
No.
good, because
No,
that would
I
not
would say-
fly.
No, portalets outside for the library has never been discussed at any meeting.
Ever.
No,
Never.
no.
No.
Very
No.
curious. See, this is why I asked the question.
The
because
discussion
it
that's
came
been,
up.
the discussion that has been had is regarding the end state of the building and how access will or will not be physically established between each side.
Right.
There are some plans that show a designated entrance and exit on both sides.
Right.
There's some that show a designated entrance and exit on both sides, plus an interior door that can access both sides.
Still in the planning stages. We don't need to get.
Yeah, no one's approved any kind of plans
So
yet. It's-
portalets out in the
No.
snowy
No.
yard for
No.
children to go tromping through the snow to freeze their butts.
Very
No,
rustic.
no.
Okay, I mean outhouse
Mm,
could work. We just
Yeah.
dig a hole.
I think
Okay.
Yeah, so no,
Thank you.
that's not.
I'm glad that that's clarified. I'll
Yeah.
take it as gospel that there will not be portalets because
I mean, I'm not to say that like at some point there might never be a portalet out here.
Like during a
because
construction
construction
phase,
That's
like
fair.
it's
Well, like-
it's a
that's
possibility.
fair. I understand that. I
Yeah,
just
so
didn't want the
Just
library
to
to
clarify
be
for
cut
the
off
record
from-
that, yeah,
Like I know if I'm at the library or here and I need to pee, I'm gonna use the bathroom.
okay, so that was the only update on
Great.
that, is
What do you
that,
charge for that now?
I'll pay. It's okay. I'll leave some diapers in the diaper spot.
so,
Cool.
Okay.
great, so that brings us to the Evergreen Foundation proposal, which Bob had emailed
Yeah.
us, which I had emailed out to the board back on the 5th, I
Yeah.
think, for review. So just as a reminder, this was a request to do some vegetation management along the side of 242 along the Trout River. The scope of work that was presented focuses on removing lower vegetation and pruning up trees essentially to create a view shed that gets down to the river. Have folks had a chance to review the proposal? Yeah. So, I mean, I'll just jump in. My concern with the work around the vegetative management is that I understand in pruning up larger trees, you can remove lower branches. It allows a line of sight. It's common practice around shoreline protections where you can open up views, but you maintain the vegetation. I don't have a concern around pruning up some branches. I am a little concerned about vegetative management in the understory and midstory from two perspectives. One is we don't really want to cut any live woody vegetation that is not problematic from like an invasive species perspective, because regardless of it being a small thing or a big thing, it is holding the bank in place. The other part of it is that in removing smaller woody vegetation, you create an environment for Japanese knotweed to proliferate. Some of that stuff is actually holding that in check. And I understand in the proposal that removing the Japanese knotweed would be part of it. However, removing the Japanese knotweed and keeping the Japanese knotweed gone is like a Herculean task. And so my concern is that if we do vegetative management, depending on how that goes and what the long run management of it is, we could actually just be exacerbating an issue with Japanese knotweed along there. Does that make sense?
Okay, is there a way, okay, how much can you allow then? How much would you be comfortable with me cutting? How far can I go?
Yeah, so I'd say
Are
like,
we just gonna do nothing, or can we do something? That's, okay, can we open up, some of the view?
yeah, it's a good question, and I don't have like a definitive, I don't know how to definitively answer that, like in this setting. Cause,
I would say probably like trimming some of the bigger trees.
you
the
know,
lower
limbing
branches.
up some of the
limbing up
stuff
something
could
like that
could
would-
potentially be,
But-
something we could look at.
But then you're opening it up for, what's shading the knotweed could make it come in.
Yeah, it's a balance, right? I mean, at a minimum, like, the discussion of mowing and stuff, like, yeah, no, there'd be no mowing
No,
along there or anything.
No mowing at all.
Well, first of all, I don't know how you,
Oh, hand mowing, hand pushing.
but even like along the bank and stuff, I think,
Only where it was easily mowable, so
So-
it would be the more level part
Yeah.
near the road.
so my concern with that part of it is, this is the other part of it, which is not just vegetation, but its use, is again, this goes to like the worst case scenario thing, is if we do this work, could it actually create an environment which is more attractive to people parking on the side of 242? Like if we make it, as you described, more park-like, are more cars gonna say, oh, well, they've mowed the shoulder, I can park here now?
And
And
why
you-
would they wanna park there so they can go
Yeah.
swimming?
You know what I mean? So we already have a problem with parking along,
Two pull-offs already,
We're
of
talking
course.
58, right?
Yes.
Not 242.
I'm sorry, 58, not
58.
242.
Thanks.
Apologies.
Okay, I'm like very confused for a minute here.
Side
Okay.
of the road.
Yeah, we really we
Yeah.
really don't want, I get what you're saying, there's a park off by the old foundation, there's a pull off, and there's some space lower that maybe you can get two cars completely off the road.
Mhm.
But I guess my concern is that if we do more vegetative management along the road there, that it's gonna make it so more people see that as, hey, I can park my
Yeah.
car here.
Okay,
Um,
and one solution, of course, is, no parking signs.
so we,
What's
That
the
don't work. Excuse me, that don't work.
wonderful clutter
That don't
that I
We tried it already.
not like.
They're already there.
yeah,
yeah, they're already there.
They're up there on 58.
What if
Trust
you
me.
did, what if you
They
did,
run 'em
like,
They run them over, they don't,
You run them over?
can you put like one of the old, a fence that just makes that not a pull-off? Why is that a pull-off? Does it have to be a pull-off?
I'm sorry, what are you talking about?
Does
Two
the area
pull-offs.
that, the pull-offs, can't we just put barriers up so it's not a
then they'll
pull-off?
park in the middle of the road.
I mean,
Yeah.
we,
No, then they'll just keep going.
No,
There's
no,
nowhere
they're
to
parking
park.
middle.
No,
I
they
mean,
won't.
we certainly could,
All summer.
But I
but,
mean, is there anything preventing us from, like, I've been to pull-offs, like I was in Tahoe,
yeah,
and they don't want you to pull off, pull-offs, and they put up these big old timber fences,
yeah.
and you can park like 2 miles down the way and walk up to
Yeah.
see that view.
Potentially we could, we have to talk to V-Trans about,
Oh, right, it's
what we
a
can and
state
can't do
highway,
in the
it's
right of
not a
way.
State highway.
cause that could also become a situation where they say, sure, you can put big stones, but they have to
Sure,
be
it's
X
buried.
distance, which creates less room that people still park in, so it's like, oh.
Yeah,
Crime tape?
Yeah, right. And like a sheet over a log on
Let's
it.
just
Yeah.
make our
They
own.
don't stop nobody up there.
Maybe.
Is that a concern, by the way, I mean, would you prefer that those two pull-offs were like not there and that you excluded parking? I did not know that. Is that a,
The parking there has been, is a perennial concern, it has been for years. We've tried to mitigate it by putting no parking signs up, people don't listen to them. We've tried to put other things out, people move it. So yeah, and you know, there's a point at which like a certain amount of stuff, we make it work. Like if there's 4 cars parked in the small turnout by the foundation and 2 down below out of the right of way, like, sure. But when they get stacked up on a hot weekend and they're going all the way up to your house and down the road, like that's not,
You can't even get a car.
It's dangerous.
Right.
It is
Yeah.
dangerous.
so again, like I completely understand the objectives and I think they're laudable and I like the long-term vision. My only concern is around what vegetative management does to create a larger issue around parking and access, because the more managed something looks.
would you, if we could direct enough resources to exterminate the knotweed, would that be okay? Or do you want the knotweed there as for stabilization?
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole other kind of discussion, but like,
Well, we might as well have it.
yeah, I mean, yeah, if the knotweed could be
Okay.
managed in a way where it's gone for good and we can establish some other native vegetation there, like that would be a big plus. I just, in my experience, I don't,
Yeah, I don't see
that takes like concerted effort and over, it never ends, because it's always gonna be trying to reestablish itself in that location.
The knotweed.
Yeah.
Now, I was, from remembering what the Conservation Commission was trying to do
Yeah.
with the knotweed around.
At the end of
where-
Hill West Road, yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought the Montgomery public policy was to eliminate knotweed.
It's never really policy, it was
No.
more just kind of a,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't know if we were anti-knotweed here or if we were reaching a accommodation. for
yeah,
knotweed.
we
a status
kinda-
quo. Yeah, no, I mean, I
So-
think big picture, you know, the limitation, removal, reduction in invasive plants is good, and I don't think we have a formal policy about it. But I think that if we go down that road there, there's gotta be something to ensure that like, it's gonna keep getting done, there's a budget in place to do it, there's a commitment to continue with the management, because it would be a multi-year effort that would have to continue.
Okay.
But again, I think even outside of that, the bigger concern that I think we have here is that if we do work that creates, as you say, a more park-like space, it could create an issue with people parking and trying to access the river there.
Okay.
So in a way, part of me sees this proposal as being a great one, but without having
Totally
a larger picture of
Okay.
what does access look like and where are they parking and how does that work? I don't know if this is a standalone thing that could move.
Right. Well, I think you're completely correct. You would, yeah, any more cutting would probably encourage more parking. Do people tend to park there now already?
No, now,
Not much, this summer's been actually good,
summer.
some of it, but there was a couple
Yeah.
cars up here this past week. But they're polite because there's nobody else there, but when there's 4
When
cars
it's a
parked,
long day and people want to get,
weekends are special, and then they're parking
Okay.
up both sides of the road,
okay,
and people flying down that hill, they don't care, cause these kids, I mean, kids will be kids.
okay.
I understand that, and they want that swimming hole. Now they're walking up and going across Regan Road down through the field,
Well, they've been doing that for years.
and they're
Yeah.
parking, they're actually parking there too,
Way down.
and somebody's been parking down by
Yeah,
the forest, which is wrong.
people
but
have been,
They just, when they park there, they have no other sight.
Whose property is that?
That's,
No, the
No.
field belongs to Lackner,
Yeah.
Jim and Ann.
Still,
They used to have boulders there,
Yeah.
so nobody could get there, but that's down.
Yeah.
And then
yeah,
Lutz put a fence up, but they've taken that down.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and you're saying that, you know, the standard solution to keep people off of the turnoffs would be some kind of, you know, large stones, right, large rocks.
Be something.
And you're, yeah, okay, well, that's the cheapest and biggest and probably work. You're saying that people would be parking in front of the stones?
in the road.
Yeah.
In the road.
Well, you know, semi in the road.
I I don't see an issue with the 2 parking spots that are there, it's just they get overcrowded and then I mean,
Right.
once they're in the parking spot, they're out of the road. but-
Okay,
I think if you eliminate those, it's gonna be even worse, you know?
Yeah.
I
yeah,
mean,
no,
so,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have no position on
No,
whether
no, no.
they should be eliminated
No.
or not. Okay, so is there any view opening that you think is possible?
I think, I mean,
I don't think so.
well, personally, what I would say is,
Okay.
I would be open to next spring when things leaf back out and we have a better idea of
We probably go
what
walking.
views look like.
What?
we could probably go walk.
We could go take a walk and we
Yeah.
could say, hey, like, if there was some
Yeah.
pruning on these and here, you could open up strictly for like vehicular, looking down. So I think like next spring, I'd be open to
Yeah.
going for a walk with you and kind of flagging some trees to say,
Yeah.
okay, these could get limbed, these could get limbed. And that would allow for, you know, a better view coming down the road, but not looking at doing any kind of vegetative
Yeah.
management below like 4.5 feet. You know what I mean? So like, you could open
Well,
up
that
lines of
occludes
sight.
A lot of the view, Charlie, that's, I mean, you've gotta take out some of the smaller stuff precisely because it's in the window,
Yeah, so.
unfortunately.
So to my point is, like, if we go
Yeah.
back and look at it when there's leaves out, we can look more at kind of like,
Yeah.
what is this? Like, it's one thing to sit here and in our heads be like, God, what does that look like? But
Yeah.
if maybe next
I think
spring we
that's-
go up and look at it with leaf on, we could kind of see, okay, is there opportunity to do stuff that would allow for a better view corridor here and there that would not exacerbate some of the things we're talking about?
Yeah,
So if it's possible, could we kind of like put a pin in it until maybe late April or early May and then
Okay,
go take a look?
I appreciate that.
mhm.
Are you just being nice to me?
No,
You're
no,
trying to let me down gently, Charlie.
no.
I mean, that's,
It's
I think
okay.
that's,
I think if there's parts of this
Yeah.
we can pursue, I think we'd
Yeah.
like to.
Yeah.
It's just a
Okay.
case of figuring out what the scope of work, because the other part of that is like blowing the scope of work totally up and talking about, you know, big wholesale changes to how we manage it and access and, you know, and
Yeah.
so that's the other
I thought
direction.
erosion was our only problem, and I thought I had addressed erosion, but I didn't even think about the far end.
So,
yeah.
What, any neighbors have anything to say that live across the street from where all this is going on?
I think
What
that-
would they probably object.
I mean, I think you wouldn't see anything through the section we're talking about because there's no
So it's above.
neighbors.
So it's, sort of,
Yeah, like, you know, David and Nancy Martinson,
it's across
well, the
the
only
street.
people left there.
Well, I was thinking you meant like across the river. Because if you come down the river and you go by the little parking lot by the foundation,
Right.
there's no one really across the river.
Not across the river, across the road.
Oh, across the
Across the
road.
road, yeah.
That's a,
Teresa,
I mean, we certainly
Susie,
could,
Yeah.
Dee,
you know,
Nancy. I mean, you got
If
a
and
whole
when-
bunch of neighbors
if
that
and
might
Maybe
say,
the Canadians
if
that
you
live
do
there.
this, it's gonna
Well,
create
yeah.
people
If
come
I
on
li-
over and
If
it's
I
already.
lived there, let's see, you know, you could imagine, you'd probably like a cleaner, more park-like
And
thing to look at it
Yeah.
on that side of the road.
Yeah.
That's the
Well, I think-
plus. The negative would be if it attracted more cars
Right.
parking on your
Yeah.
road, you'd probably be unhappy.
So I think to Tosca's point though, before we do anything, it does make sense to, at a minimum, reach out to some folks, just to bring them into the conversation.
Okay?
Yeah, sorry, I thought you meant Tosca like,
No. I
people
mean,
are peeping toms through the trees
no,
to see
no.
my,
I
you know.
just mean the regular neighbors
Yeah.
that have lived on that stretch
Yep.
for years and might have something to say about it.
Gotcha.
Just
Yep.
because it's not a building going up
I would
and a
do,
permit isn't required.
Yeah.
It's one of those, now anybody can weigh in on permits, I think
Yeah.
it's important to So
Gotcha.
that people
But I
know
would
what,
just- I would just say put it back on the agenda, like in April, when
Yeah.
leaves are on and.
So if it's okay, we could
Oh,
postpone it,
it's,
go for it. Yeah.
It's gotta be okay.
All right.
You know,
Right now, we can't
Get
see
the
nothing
neighbors'
growing.
support,
Yeah.
then you got a better
Yeah,
chance, you know?
Oh,
If you
if
get
the
the,
neighbors
well,
wanna
yeah,
do it?
yeah, you gotta
There's
talk
only
to
a
the
couple
neighbors.
left here.
Doesn't matter, if they support it, then,
Okay.
yeah.
then in
Um,
April, you all go for a walk.
Okay, so yeah, so that works. We'll just kind of back burner it, check back in around
Okay.
late April, and we'll go for a walk and take a look at it.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Well,
Thank you for your work with it.
Yeah. Thanks for the
Yeah.
attention and the idea, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always appreciated.
Yeah,
So that brings us to new business. The one added item here was just the Northern Mountain Valley United something.
Unified
School-
Union.
Unified Union School District.
It rolls off the tongue.
It's like how many letters can we put into an acronym? So
More.
everybody
More.
knows, Catherine Barnard resigned from the school board. So they are now required to notify the school board of the vacancy, which we have been notified of. And the NNV board needs to appoint a new member to serve until their next annual meeting. So that's supposed to be done within 30 days after they receive it and in consultation with the select board. So we do not appoint, the school board appoints, but they will take a recommendation from us and put it into their weighty thought process. I did talk to Mary, who's the chair of the board. They are not gonna make that decision until December 4th. And so we have a meeting December 3rd, or maybe they're gonna make it the 5th, either way. They're gonna make that after our next meeting. And so I did talk to Mary, and she has been kind of putting the feelers out. She's got a few people that might be interested. She requested that we pause any action on that until she can come back and say definitively, yes, this person or these people are interested. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there, that at the next meeting, we will have an opportunity to make a reservation, a recommendation to advance to the school board for the appointment.
okay.
Okay,
So, again, no action. But to that end, if you do talk to people or you hear anybody that's interested, have them talk to Mary.
I'm sure everybody jumped around on that.
Yeah. We have no liquor or tobacco licenses and no fleet permits. So that takes us through the end of our agenda. So a motion to adjourn would be in order.
Anybody on the Zoom
No, Merle,
left?
left. I don't know if he was having issues hearing or seeing, but I don't see anybody else. So, yeah, but thank you for checking.
So I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thanks, Mark. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Leanne. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries, and we are adjourned at 7:59 PM.